And just like that, with just a little bit of dimensional tweaking, we've got Ampy, right? I mean, it's all done. And if I were a SOLIDWORKS beginner, this is a pretty cool place to be. I mean, if you can build this in SOLIDWORKS, then you can get around, you can make stuff, and I think that's really cool. Now, I figure you're probably going to want to show this to people, and when you do that, you're probably going to want to make it look a little nicer than this. So if it's kind of an artsy person you want to show, you can come up here to your View menu. You can turn on those shadows. That kind of helps a little bit. Come down and turn on perspective. That helps a lot more, kind of making things look a little bit more three-dimensional. And then you can even add an ambient occlusion layer, which looks okay in SOLIDWORKS. It definitely adds drama. You can see that especially in areas where there's a lot of negative space, it definitely helps to pop things out. Unfortunately, it's just very low resolution and kind of grainy, so it can make your object look a little dirty as well. But, I mean, it's pretty cool, right? I mean, obviously you get a little bit of drama out of that, which is nice. So let's say we can kind of take a snapshot of that. We're good with this. We could save out that image and kind of send it to somebody so they see what it looks like. But there's a good chance if you wanted to send it to, you know, an engineer or something, they're going to want to see something a little more technical. They'll want to see a drawing. So let's hit Control N and create a new drawing file. Hit OK. And by default, it's going to show us any open documents. And in this case, we have our assembly document open. I'm just going to double click that here. And then come out in my viewport and let's drag down to the bottom of this model view import feature. And we're going to use a custom scale here. And I'm going to set mine to 1 to 5 because that looks like about the right size. And I'm going to click to create a front view. We'll click for a left view and a right view, and then how about a top view? And then diagonally off here to create an isometric view. Hit Escape to drop the tool, and then just drag these into place to kind of position them as seems appropriate for this drawing. All right, now we can just position these where we want them to be. Let's drag over them just to kind of box select them. Right click, tangent edges with font. You can actually make that the default in SOLIDWORKS as well. I just haven't bothered with that. And there we go. We now have a completed drawing. And if you wanted to create some dimensions, you could. Don't forget, though, we just set this to be a 1 to 5 drawing, and this says it's 1 to 1. We might want to edit the sheet format. Double-click here and set this to 1 to 5. As you know, you could make that automatic, but since I typically don't do that, that's just a hack we'll have to do for the moment. So we now have a drawing. Isn't that cool? Let's go File, and I'm going to save that in the same folder with my assembly. And here is just the magic. This is the magic about doing drawings in this way. Let's zoom in here, and let's assume that we want to show somebody a dimension. Let's grab our Smart Dimension tool, and I'll put a dimension between here and there. And that's 134 millimeters. Perfect. And so that's what we want people to see. It's just how big that is. We'll just drag that up there where it's nice and visible. Yay! And then they say, well, actually, we want it to be a little bit bigger or something like that. So let's go back to our assembly. I'm going to edit this part. Let's edit this part in context. Drop down here. I'm going to edit that scale operation. And on the x-axis, let's make it 0.8 instead of 0.75. Hit OK. Let's go back now to our drawing. It thinks for a second. Zoom in here. Uh-oh. The number has changed. The drawing has updated. Everything is up to date. So any change that we make to our model is going to automatically be updated in our drawings. This is huge stuff. If you've ever spent hours in Rhino trying to manually create 2D drawings from your 3D CAD, you're never going to want to do that again. In fact, I've had students who insisted on modeling in Rhino, but they would still come over to SOLIDWORKS when it was time to create their drawings, just because it's so much easier to do it this way. Let's look at a couple of other little features of drawings, just for fun. I'm going to close this up, and why don't we save it? And I'll close this as well. So let's go File, New, and we'll create a new drawing document. And I'm going to browse and insert that camera subassembly just by itself, just the camera. And in the sheet scale, let's set that to 1 to 2, let's say. That looks good. Drop in a couple of views and hit OK. That'll work perfectly for our purposes right now. Let's just move these over a little bit. Now, there are a couple of things we might want to see from these. Let's first set these to be tangent edge with line font, as we said before. Let's head up and do a section view. Now, I want this to be on the other axis. We're going the wrong way right now. So if I hit the Tab key, that switches between the two axes. So I can just toggle there. Let's go right to the middle here and click OK, and OK. And then move up here and click one more time. Now we have a section view of our model. Really nice and clean. Now, if you're working in SOLIDWORKS 2012 or earlier, that whole process might be a little bit different, but just play around with it. It's pretty straightforward. You'll really be surprised how easy it is, I think. Then actually, if you want to create a detail view, this is really fun. I love detail views. Let's head up to our detail view command. And down here, let's say we want a detail of this area right here. We'll just circle the area we want to look at, then move up here and drop the detail view wherever we want it. Now in the detail view properties, there's a lot we can do. One of them is, for example, to add a fill outline all the way around that thing, and then drag all the way down. And you'll notice under display style, we can actually change that to shaded. Really nice. Now this thing actually just kind of gives us a really close-up idea of what's going on right there, in the drawing. And there are lots of reasons why you might want to do these kinds of things. Very useful stuff. So I hope drawings are going to be useful to you in sharing your work in SOLIDWORKS. Obviously, if you're doing really technical drawings, like for actual engineering purposes, these things get a lot more detailed and technical. But for our purposes right now, I just want to kind of open this up to you as a tool to play with and to use to communicate your ideas to other people quickly, fluidly, efficiently, and just see where that takes you. All right, that is the end, folks. You now officially have wings. Please flap them and fly away. And we will be doing more SOLIDWORKS training here on CAD Junkie very soon. You can expect SOLIDWORKS 102 will be on the way in the very near future. Have fun with that. We'll see you around.